Los Angeles, California, March 15th, 1968, 8:30 p.m. Chasen's restaurant, one of Beverly Hills' most prestigious restaurants. Dean Martin is having dinner with his family, his wife, Gian, his daughters, Deanna and Gail, his son, Richie. A happy family dinner, a beautiful evening. Then a man approaches, drunk, swaying as he walks. Maybe 50 years old. Expensive suit. Rolex watch clearly visible, a wealthy man, but obviously very intoxicated. He comes to Dean's table, doesn't stop, leans over the table. "You're Dean Martin, aren't you?" he says, his voice loud with an aggressive tone. Dean smiles, politely. "Yes, I am. Good evening." "I know you," the man says. "You're that stage drunk, aren't you? Always pretending to drink whiskey. Are you really drunk, or is it just an act?" The restaurant begins to quiet down. Dean's smile fades, but he stays calm. "Sir, I'm having dinner with my family. If you didn't answer," the man says, his voice louder now. "Are you really drunk or just acting? Because I think you're a fake show." Jean touches Dean's arm. "Dean, just ignore him." But Dean stands up, slowly, calmly. Everyone is watching now, the entire restaurant. Dean looks at the man, into his eyes, and then he does something nobody expects. He extends his hand for a handshake. "Hello," Dean says, his voice gentle. "I'm Dean Martin, and yes, I play a drunk on stage." The man is surprised. He shakes hands. Mechanically, Dean continues. "Because it makes people laugh. People come to laugh, and I make them laugh. That's my job." "But in reality?" Dean smiles. "In reality, I haven't had a drink in 20 years. Not a single drop. Because I have a family. And for my family, I need to be sober." Dean looks at Jean, then at his children. For them. Then Dean turns back to the man. And this time, his voice changes. Harder, but still calm. "But your situation is different." The man raises his eyebrows. "What do you mean?" "You're really drunk," Dean says. "Right now. And you're not just drunk. Here, in this restaurant, in front of strangers, you're making a fool of yourself." Dean looks at the table next to the man. A woman is sitting there, her head down, filled with shame. "And you're embarrassing your wife," Dean says. The man looks back, sees his wife. The woman averts her eyes. Dean continues. "I play a role for you on stage. You watch it as entertainment. Then you go home. You go to your family. But you're here, in real life, actually drunk. And you're embarrassing your family." Dean leans closer to the man, his voice low, but everyone can hear. "Maybe we should switch roles. I'll play your role on stage. You be real with your family at home." Silence. The restaurant completely silent. The man looks at Dean, his mouth open, can't say anything. Then, applause. One person starts clapping, then another, then another. Within 10 seconds, the entire restaurant is applauding. The man stumbles backward, his face bright red. He returns to his table. His wife won't even look at him. Dean sits down, smiles at his family. Now, where were we? Richie looks at his father, his eyes shining. "Dad, you're amazing." Dean ruffles his son's hair. "No, son, I was just kind. Being kind always wins." But to understand this story, you need to understand who Dean Martin was. Dean wasn't just a singer, wasn't just an actor. Dean Martin was a character, a persona. On stage, Dean always pretended to be drinking whiskey, his hand always on a glass, his speech slightly slurred, his walk slightly unsteady. People loved it, thought it was cool, thought it was relaxed. But the real Dean Martin was very different. The real Dean was a disciplined professional. He woke up at 6 a.m. every morning, he exercised, he ate healthy, and he didn't drink. In 1950, Dean made a decision. Stage character and real life would be separate. On stage, Dean Martin. At home, Dino Crocetti. And this decision saved Dean's life, because he stayed away from Hollywood's dark side. Frank Sinatra drank. Sammy Davis Jr. used drugs. Peter Lawford was an alcoholic. But Dean went home every night, spent time with his children, stayed sober. But people didn't know this. Everyone thought Dean was really drunk. And sometimes, like that night at Chasen's, someone would accuse Dean to his face. But how did Dean respond? With anger? With violence? No. With intelligence, with grace, and with a lesson. Chasen's Restaurant, 1968. After that night, something changed. The waiters told the story. The customers told the story. The press heard. Dean Martin silenced a drunk man with applause. But the story goes deeper than that. Because that night, Dean didn't just defend himself. He did something else. That man attacked Dean, but Dean gave that man a lesson. With kindness. 3 days later, a letter arrived at Chasen's Restaurant. For Dean Martin. The letter was from that man. Mr. Martin, 3 nights ago, I was very disrespectful to you. I was drunk. I was a fool. And I disturbed you in front of your family. Your words deeply affected me. When I got home, I had a long conversation with my wife. That night, for the first time in my life, I saw how alcohol was changing me. Today I went to an AA meeting. I took the first step. I'm not asking you to forgive me, because what I did is unforgivable. But I want you to know, you changed my life that night. Thank you. Robert H. When Dean read that letter, he didn't show anyone, didn't tell anyone. He just put it in his pocket and smiled. Because Dean understood. Anger didn't solve the problem, but kindness did. Years later, in 1985, Dean gave an interview. The journalist asked, "Why did you never get angry? In Hollywood, people constantly attacked you, called you fake, drunk, lazy. Didn't you ever get upset?" Dean smiled. "I got upset, inside, but I didn't show my anger." Why not? Because anger is a sign of weakness. When you get angry, you lose. When you stay calm, you win. So that night, at Chasen's, what did you feel toward that man? Dean thought. Pity. That man was suffering. Alcohol was eating him. And I held up a mirror. Let him see himself. And did it work? If he sent a letter, yes. The journalist was surprised. Letter? What letter? Dean shook his head. It doesn't matter. But yes, it worked. But the Chasen story doesn't end there. Because after that night, something changed around Dean. People started being more respectful. Because they understood. Dean Martin wasn't just a cool guy. He was a smart guy. A kind guy. In 1972, one day Dean was eating at another restaurant, La Scala, Beverly Hills. A young man approached, in his 20s, shy. "Mr. Martin," he said, "I'm sorry to bother you." Dean smiled. "No problem. What's up?" I just wanted to thank you." "Thank me for what?" The young man hesitated. "In 1968, you were at Chasen's Restaurant. A man insulted you. He was drunk." Dean's smile disappeared. "I remember. That man was my father." Dean's breath caught. The young man continued. "After that night, my father stopped drinking. He went to AA. He stayed sober for 4 years. And last month, he died of cancer. But before he died, he told me something." What did he say? He said, "That night, Dean Martin gave me a gift, the gift of seeing myself. And that gift gave me 4 more years, 4 years as a father to my family. Thank him for me." The young man's eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Martin, my father died. But those last 4 years were the best 4 years, because he was sober, because he was there. And that's because of you." Dean stood up, hugged the young man. I'm sorry you lost your father." "Don't be sorry," the young man said. "He was happy, and I had a father for 4 years, because of you." Dean wiped his eyes. "Tell your father, tell his spirit. I'm proud of him." After the young man left, Dean returned to his table. He was looking at his food but not seeing it, because he understood. That night, at Chasen's, he hadn't just silenced a man. He'd saved a life. Dean Martin's philosophy was simple, not with anger, but with kindness. But kindness wasn't weakness. Kindness was strength. That night, at Chasen's Restaurant, Dean Martin taught the world a lesson. The best way to win isn't to fight. The best way is to hold up a mirror. And sometimes, the strongest response isn't to shout. It's to stay calm, speak the truth, and earn the applause. Dean Martin died in 1995, but his words from that night still echo. I play a role for you on stage. You be real with your family at home. Simple, deep, and game-changing. Today, Chasen's restaurant no longer exists. It closed in 1995, but that night, in 1968, the people who were there still tell the story. I saw what Dean Martin said to a drunk, and my life changed. Because Dean's power wasn't in his fists, it was in his words. And those words saved a life, maybe more than one. If people are putting you down, remember, anger is easy, but kindness is powerful. Dean Martin proved it, and maybe you can prove it too.